Welcome to episode 3 of Good Fat Friday. On this Easter Friday. Hop to it. I'm your host, Roland Chambers. This episode of Good Fat Friday is dedicated to the memory of Michelle Ross, who died recently. Michelle Ross was a pillar in the community, sharing her gifts, her talents with us for over 4 decades. She was known around the world. She will be greatly missed. One of the things I discovered reading all the Facebook posts and tributes and articles to her was this common thread. So many people said that she was the first drag queen that they ever saw, which was an incredible feat. She touched so many. It was the first drag queen that I ever saw as well, many years ago. It was the night that I went to my first queer clubs. I went to Chez Moi, Chaps, and Comrades, which they had to drag me out of because I couldn't get enough of it. But it was at Chaps that I saw Michelle Ross for the first time. She was hosting her weekly talent contest alongside Chris Edwards, who sadly we've also lost. And I remember just being so inspired by Michelle Ross and what she was doing that months later, I decided to try my hand at drag as well. So I went out and bought this Dynasty-esque Chanel-looking women's skirt suit from Le Chateau, bought some heels. They were flats because I didn't know at that time that you could actually buy heels for men in size 11. Got myself a little Whitney Houston-esque bob wig from somewhere and entered the contest. One thing I couldn't afford though, because I was a high school student, was jewelry. So I had a black and gold woven belt, which I had wrapped around my neck as my choker. So I entered the contest and had a great time. Afterwards, Michelle and I believe Chris Edwards as well came up to get the audience's feel of me. And I just remember Michelle looking me up and down, very motherly-like. No judgment, just warmth in her eyes and warmth in her voice. And she said, "You look really good. It's your first time, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes." She goes, "You look really classy. But that belt around your neck, honey." And Michelle Ross clocked me. And from that moment, I fell in love with her. So this episode is for you, Michelle. Today we look at issue 190. It is the 3rd issue in the FAB Renaissance years. This is also the first cover where we scored a major local celeb on our cover instead of just a young, half-naked gay man. But still, the celeb on the cover is flanked by young, half-naked guys. That's our trademark. It's very interesting because on this cover, as I said, it's our 3rd cover. It's our first one with a local celebrity on it, and you may not recognize who it is. Even back then, you may not recognize who it was. It is Jeannie Becker. And I found this cover really interesting. The fact that it's our first cover with a celeb on it, yet her name isn't on the cover, and she's actually the one wearing makeup. So maybe it's because we want to see the models' faces, but the models are half naked anyway, so it would have been fine. Maybe there's a clause in her contract where she couldn't show her face on the cover. Because Jeannie Becker, of course, was the host of fashion television back then. She also launched her own magazine years later called FQ. I think it lasted maybe 4 years or so. So let's take a look at what's inside issue 190. First, we have, of course, our Dominion ad. Next page, our Woody's ad. And if you notice there, it says Sunday, May 26th at 10 p.m. the Miss Woody's contest hosted by Miss Woody's 2002 Savanda. That's 19 years ago. Yes, she and I have been in the scene that long. Next, we have an ad for Unity 2002, the major pride party that everyone looked forward to. This was before Christmas, of course. Next page is the masthead. So, issue 190, May 23rd to June 5th, 2002. Editor-in-Chief Mitchell Grateful, Art Director Justin Station, Deputy Editor Stephen Bresnay, Associate Editor Andrea Namath, Music Editor Ilio Yadachi, Editorial Assistants Ryan Porter, James Shirani, and Scott Bradley, Contributors Jeannie Becker, Paul Blaney, me, Roland Chambers, Joseph Couture, Todd Klink, Christopher Michael, James Murray, Alex Rolson, and Jason Tashir. Photographers Sean Cohen, Tony Fong, Stephen Gregoire, Philip Lenchten, John White, and Cassandra Costello. Director of Advertising and Business Development Antoine El Hashem, National Account Manager John White, and of course it was put out by No Fear Publishing. For the cover, the photographer was Philip Lenchten. The models were from left to right. Scott Merritt of the Foster Group, Jeannie Becker, and Sean Kane, also of the Foster Group. This is what they looked like then. Scott Merritt. This is what it looks like now. This is Sean Kane then, and Sean Kane roughly now. Wardrobe, Jeannie Becker's outfit and models G-string designed by Izzy Camilleri, it's an amazing Canadian designer. Photo assistant Danielle Cohen. Hair was by Adrian Morisot of Judy Inc. Makeup was by Jania O'Connor of MAC, and styling was by Jessa Bissett of Judy Inc. Letters of Fab magazine, home recipe for my fisting chef, Loud Psycho Twink, Save the Army Pants, Nothing But Pretties, Mark Hall Rules, and Dismayed Students. The letter I found really interesting from this issue was Nothing But Pretties. In response to Mr. G. Wilmington's very bitter-sounding letter, why is it that the older gay generation insists on putting down and constantly labeling the younger gay generation as nothing but pretties and attitude queens? We are forever grateful to the likes of Mr. Wilmington for paving the way for us to be able to have more freedom as gay men or women. I know what it must have been like for Mr. Wilmington during his 20s, and I assure you that his courage is a good example for Gen X gays, and for the young gays right now. Mr. Wilmington should know that until we can all become one as a community and be there for each other, this will be a divided community that will not achieve any goals. Editor's letter, this is Mitchell Rapel's editor's letter, titled, When AIDS Was Cool. Mitchell loved shocking headlines that got under people's skin, and this was one of them, of course. This issue, as you saw from the cover, is about Fashion Cares. Fashion Cares was a huge fashion and entertainment extravaganza put on once a year in the spring, and it was a benefit for ACT, AIDS Committee of Toronto. So this issue is about Fashion Cares and AIDS in general. When AIDS was cool. AIDS was way cooler when it was called GRID, gay-related immune deficiency. Homosexuals had a disease they could call their very own. They were the one group in the West who saw their numbers wiped out by AIDS, and an entire generation of gay men would suffer from survivor guilt. Today, the gay community has lost ownership of the disease. In the beginning of the epidemic, de-gaying AIDS was necessary to secure research funding, public sympathy, and to avoid the creation of homosexual concentration camps. But over 2 decades later, with the disease still devastating the gay community, the de-gaying of AIDS has a stench of homophobia. And he ends with, even though AIDS affects everybody, gay men will always have a special relationship to it. In North America, the disease devastated the gay community when it first hit. It still is an epidemic. People are just dying slower. Gay people are still at the forefront of safer sex campaigns, and whenever a corporation backs an AIDS charity, there is usually some gay connection. There's no shame in the fact that homosexuality and AIDS are intertwined. If AIDS only affected gay people, it would still be a compassionate society's duty to alleviate the suffering of its citizens and to acknowledge their humanity. It would, in fact, prove that we are enlightened and respect people's sexual choices. In that way, it's a pity AIDS is no longer a gay disease. Something to think about. Our sushi page and blurbs from around the world. My favorite quote is from Sheryl Crow. I've never passionately kissed another girl. It seems like fun though, as long as I get to pick the girl. This was Sheryl Crow talking about her sexuality with Stuff magazine. News from around the world. First Black Pride in Toronto. There's a new gay pride coming to town. Toronto Black Pride. It follows in the footsteps of LGBT Black Pride Festival in parts of the US, UK, and South Africa. I wanted to have that type of solidarity and unity within the Black community here as well, said Santo Villafana, the founder of Toronto's first Black Pride weekend, coming August 2nd to 5th. The date coincides with Caravana, North America's largest Caribbean festival, which runs 2 weeks from July 19th to August 5th. 12th Annual Black Pride in Washington. I believe the entire gay and lesbian community is only as strong as its weakest link, says Earl Folks Jr., president of Black, Lesbian, and Gay Pride Day in Washington, D.C. More than 10,000 Black queers from around the world are expected to descend on the U.S. Capitol for the world's largest Black, Gay, and Lesbian festival, running May 24th to 26th. Until Black gays and lesbians can step out of the closet in larger numbers, then we're not going to be able to contribute to the extent that we can, says Mr. Folks Jr., who feels it's essential to give Black LGBT people a chance to see life outside of the straight-dominated neighborhoods in which many live, and the gay ghettos that are predominantly white. Tia party is not meant to be faggy. Real men may not wear tiaras, but Nico men sure do like to pamper their skin. And that's exactly what the Nico Cosmetics Company is looking for at its annual tiara party and contest, where it's holding a pageant to find the perfect Nico man to represent its Nico Man cologne. Those attending the pageant can indulge in a parade of hot men, naughty Nico martinis, and fierce judging by fashion and media elite, including FAB's own deep dish columnist, Roland Chambers. And while Roland will likely be wearing a tiara, according to company founder Nick Papadatos, contestants won't be. We didn't want to emasculate the guys, he says. It's not meant to be faggy at all. But he adds, our clientele is very open to different lifestyles, and that's part of our philosophy. So, one, I totally forgot about this contest. I don't know who won. I think Matthew Chantelouse was one of the contestants at the time. But honestly, I do not remember this contest. Maybe I had one too many of those Nico martinis. Of course, we got these quotes just to, get a charge out of people. So the fact that he said, it's not meant to be faggy at all. He was joking, of course, but of course, some people at that time probably took offense to it. And I believe some people right now are probably taking offense to it as well, because especially now, people do not use the word fag. Back then, when I was coming out, fag was used as a term of endearment. We actually had, I think it was a weekly Friday night party, which was held at the original cruise. There was a night called Ghetto Fag, which was an amazing, amazing party. Sadly, I don't think we can get away with a party called Ghetto Fag today. 2002 Gay Games deadline looming. Athletes heading to the Gay Games in Sydney, Australia later this year have more to worry about than which speedo to pack. The registration deadline is coming up next month. 1,400 queers and straights are expected to descend on the first Gay Games in the Southern Hemisphere happening November 2nd to 9th. And as we all know, there was Gay Games, there was also Out Games, and they all went kaput. One was marred in, I believe, financial scandal. That's why it went out. Ad for the Bay. Very Fashion Cares. Ad for Swatch. Who remembers Swatch? I have a Swatch. Don't know what happened to it. at Back Blue in support of Fashion Cares Circus that year. Next page, Big Bank sponsors Fashion Cares. But Bank of Montreal's support for AIDS fundraisers should not be seen as directly targeting gays. By Stephen Beresnay. For the first time in its 16-year history, Fashion Cares has secured a major financial institution as a title sponsor. Alongside MAC Cosmetics and the Bay, the Bank of Montreal has donated $100,000 to Circus, this year's Fashion Cares extravaganza. Extravaganza was the word used a lot that year. But the bank has stated that this is not an attempt to target the gay community, even though its involvement in Fashion Cares stems from a push from the bank's own LGBT organization. This is the first year that Fashion Cares got a bank behind it, but as we all know, since 2002, banks are everywhere supporting the queer community, because as we all know, banks, like any organization, has queer people involved in it. Around the turn of the century, a lot more corporations incorporated LGBT organizations within themselves, just like an LGBTQ organization would exist in a university. These also started existing in large corporations as well as banks. So, we have TD is a huge sponsor of Pride now, but back then, the first one to jump on board was Bank of Montreal, so bravo to them. So, Bank of Montreal is now specifically targeting the pink dollar. Mr. Cohen has taken upon himself to tell the gay community to look favorably upon this title sponsor. He says he hopes that when members of the queer community are trying to decide what financial institution they want to use or support, this donation will have some bearing on their final decision. According to Mr. McCohen, this is a gutsy move on the bank's part. Financial institutions are known for their conservative approach to corporate giving, he says. Fashion Cares is not an over-the-top event, but it has an edge to it. Even if Bank of Montreal itself doesn't see this as direct marketing opportunity to the gay community, Fashion Cares organizers think that there is a definite benefit to the bank for being such a big name sponsor. Big Banks supports Fashion Cares was by Stephen Beresnay. Also on this page, hey, was that a post-prom hickey? Remember 2 years ago we talked about Mark Hall, the gay Catholic school student who took his boyfriend to the prom. There's a follow-up to the prom, and apparently someone noted a hickey on Mark Hall's neck from his boyfriend. And I quote boyfriend because we found out months later that Mark Hall and his boyfriend actually broke up a few weeks before their actual prom and had to attend as boyfriend and boyfriend anyways, and they had to pretend. So I'm not sure where he got that hickey from. Next page, some ads. Next page, news. Power Plant gears up for annual fundraiser with gay folk church music and Speedo-clad go-go dancers. It will be an interesting array of flesh. So this article is about the annual Power Plant extravaganza, which was similar to Fashion Cares, except there was no fashion, it was art. Same sort of spectacle, similar crowd, similar crossover, but a little bit more artsy, and it was a little bit more affordable, and I don't know which one I liked better, but they were both amazing. This article is by Jason Tashir. There will be steam flowing out of the Power Plant's phallic smokestack on Friday, May 31st, with gyrating go-go's galore and Bruce LaBruce snapping naughty pictures. This year's Powerball fundraiser will be the place to be seen, says the gallery's artistic director. It will be night of 1,000 stars, a cross-section of art and fashion, per director Wayne Barwalt during a painfully early morning interview. And high above it all, we'll have a whole collection of art videos so people don't have to look at picket blank walls. We want them thinking, what the fuck is this I'm watching? And it was always a crazy time. Also in the news, Kevin Aucoin, a brush with success, dies at 40. On May 7th, at age 40, makeup artist to the stars Kevin Aucoin died at Westchester Medical Center in New York from complications arising from a metabolic disorder. Mr. Aucoin was born Valentine's Day in 1962. His brush with super success included Oprah Winfrey, Liza Minnelli, and Madonna. Tina Turner took him along for her One Last Time tour in 2000. In the world of fashion, where he easily commanded $10,000 a day, Mr. Aucoin was a rare, out and proud gay artist. Kevin Aucoin was a gay rights advocate, says Jeannie Becker, who is producing a 1-hour TV tribute special on Kevin Aucoin for Fashion Television Channel. I don't think I ever talked to anyone in fashion who had not been so open about his gay relationship. This article ends on April 19th, Mr. Aucoin wrote his final entry on his website, kevinaucoin.com. Today, I choose life. Every morning when I wake up, I can choose joy, happiness, negativity, pain. To feel the freedom that comes from being able to continue to make mistakes and choices. Today, I choose to feel life, not to deny my humanity, but to embrace it. And that was written by Mitchell Rafel, our editor. Also in the news, a gay guide to the gay family galaxy. The Family Pride Canada website gets launched. As of May 15, queer families across the country have a new resource. The Family Pride Canada website, familypride.ca UWO.ca was launched at a ceremony in Toronto last week to celebrate diversity and pride in the LGBT family. The website, which features access to parenting manuals, research papers, magazine articles, testimonial essays, legal guides, family biographies, queer positive children's books, and popular novels on LGBT family themes, also lists contact information for social and support services across the country for gay families. And this was a big thing because this was 2002, gay marriage was still not legal. It was on the horizon, but it was still not legal, so this was a great thing. And it ends with Professor James Miller, the director of Pride Library at the University of Western Ontario Research Centre for Gay and Lesbian Studies, will head the project, and says he couldn't be more proud of the work that's been done to help queer families in developing the site. And this article ends with, Miller says the group has decided to add a dictionary of terms. No one handed me a guidebook to the gay galaxy with a helpful glossary of queer terms like straight acting, daddy bear, and systematic heteronormativity. Say that 10 times fast. And unfortunately, that website is no longer available. Also the news, Pilot Project tackles same-sex abuse. A new pilot project is being launched to address abuse within gay relationships. The Partner Assault Response Program, PAR, will focus on offenders by putting them together in a group counseling situation. It will be run by the abuse counseling organization Counterpoint in conjunction with the Gay Partner Abuse Project, which provides support for men who experience violence and abuse in same-sex relationships. I'm not sure if this group is still happening, but there are definitely groups like it out there. So if you're in an abusive situation, there are resources out there for you. HIV rates level off, yet most infections are in Toronto. The HIV infection rate for men who have sex with men, MSN, in Ontario has leveled off and may even be decreasing slightly. These findings come from 2 studies released at the 2002 conference of the Canadian Association for HIV Research, a gathering of AIDS and HIV experts that was held in Winnipeg at the end of April. I just looked up the HIV rates now. The HIV rates have actually gone up 23% in the last 4 years. So wrap it up, get on PrEP. Do both. Next page, we have an ad for Nivea Men. Remember that whole drama about Nivea? I think it was 2 summers ago, maybe it was last summer. Some of the executives at Nivea were pitched a gay or queer focused ad, and one of the executives said, "We don't do queer ads, we don't target the gay market." Well, I have news for you. I have like issues and issues and issues upon FAB magazine where Nivea has targeted the queer community, specifically gay men, through FAB and through dozens of other queer publications around the world, I'm sure. But this is one of them. There's even a better one coming up later. Someone doesn't know his history. Our feature on Fashion Cares is written by Jeannie Becker. Jeannie Becker, for those who do not know, is a fashion icon. Her claim to fame is she was a long-running host of fashion television. So this is her article on Fashion Cares. A more revealing shot of Scott and Sean from the cover. So her article is called, Does Fashion Really Care? This year's Mega AIDS fundraiser, Fashion Cares, has been dubbed the wildest show on earth. By Jeannie Becker. Of all the beautiful parties I've attended in my so-called glamorous life, none stayed with me like the spectacular Fashion Cares. This annual wildly creative love-in has become a metaphor for what's at the heart of this community, and a shining beacon for the fights and fantasies that sustain us all. More than ever before, this year's Fashion Cares build, the wildest show on earth, promises to be a Fellini-esque extravaganza. Extravaganza, once again. A celebration of the highest order. I used to wonder about the benefits that were trumped up like that. I mean, how could any community abandon its pain and suffering for a night of hedonistic fun? Somehow, it didn't seem moral to be dressing up and stuffing one's face and dancing one's ass off when there were so many unfortunate souls who'd been victimized and could never even dream of going to the ball. It seemed decadent, insensitive, and downright shallow to be partying in this way. But as the years went by and Fashion Cares became bigger, more popular, and more successful in raising funds and awareness, I softened my stance. The very people we mourn and miss would love to see us so happy. They were the spirited ones who so adored these wild parties. They just better find a cure for this damn thing fast. My beloved friend Terry Wood was showing me the painful new sores on his legs as we made our way through the Queen Street traffic. Terry, a gorgeous and talented jewelry designer and makeup artist who came to Toronto from Calgary in the early 80s, was battling full-blown AIDS by the end of that decade. Still, he was confident that the disease was going to be eradicated any day. Despite his pain and discomfort, Terry was adamant about schlepping down to City TV each week to do my makeup. Forgetting his kaposies for a few moments, he hit me with the big question. Now, what you gonna wear to Fashion Cares? Well, the theme's sheer drama, so I'll probably be something elegant and flowing, black maybe. I have just the earrings, he offered, not missing a beat. For Terry, the then fledgling bash had already become the epitome of glamour, and while he wasn't feeling well enough to attend this year, he was always eager to help dress me. So Jeannie goes on to talk about more of the fundraising efforts and what Fashion Cares is all about. So she ends with, evidently corporate Canada didn't realize the toll AIDS would be taking on this much-loved fashion industry. But each year, as ignorance dissipates and more lives are touched by AIDS, compassion swells and so does sponsorship. Now even the biggest and most straight-laced institutions, including the Blessed Bank of Montreal, which has come to the table this year, are proud to be associated with the cause. Of course, there's a ton of publicity to be gained by these corporations, and some may see their involvement as merely a big marketing ploy. But doesn't matter. Do we really care? We've still got this major battle on our hands. I say it feels good to know we're not fighting it alone. We still need the help. As Caree once said, they just better find a cure for this damn thing fast. And as we know, they haven't found a cure, but they've found ways to manage it and make money from it.
Gone away, Jeannie.
It's sort of funny to see all this, frivolity and all this celebration, all this hedonism, in a sense, in the light of this devastating disease. But I guess at the end of the day, this is, what really matters, keeping the spirit of the community alive and well.
And you know what? It's the straight community, the gay community, it's every community out here that takes part of it, and I think that's absolutely fabulous.
In addition to the circus act and dance routines, the show also included musical performances by Angie Stone, David Usher, and Amanda Marshall.
Next page, a feature by our music editor Elio Iannacci about Dionne Warwick. There's never too much sparkle. At 61, Dionne Warwick is finally getting her props. Sure, she did that Psychic Friends Network and the theme to Valley of the Dolls, but we'll forgive this diva who's raised millions for AIDS. In between soundchecks at Aaron Davis Hall, 2 days before Dionne Warwick's tribute gala gets underway in New York City, the diva is taking a breather. Although this is her 23rd interview of the week, a BBC camera crew has just finished filming a retrospective of her life, and CNN is hustling at her dressing room door for a quick quote. Warwick plays it cool. She ignores the fracas, lowers her TV, turns off her cell phone, and apologizes for doing 3 things at once. In the next few months, Warwick Mania is set to strike again. A slew of tributes, accolades, and honors, which will continue until November 2002, are planned for Warwick's 40th anniversary year in the entertainment business. From public serenades by Isaac Hayes and Luther Vandross performing her top hits, Don't Make Me Over, Do You Know the Way to San Jose, and Then You Came, to receiving awards such as the Harlem Renaissance honor previously presented to esteemed writer Maya Angelou, it's quite clear that Warwick, now 61, is getting her props. I'm honored, she says, to attend all of these events, but all the adjectives you can come up with for me are not the reason why I do what I do. Warwick pauses before continuing intensely. I do it because I love it. I know nothing about what's going on at the tributes. I just have to pick up a dress and show up. The list of people that I have inspired so far is so long. In that list is the gay community, which, she says, didn't wait until age 61 to give her recognition. The gay community has always been there for my career. They bought the tickets, sat in the audience, and purchased the records for the full 40 years. The Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Information's unrelenting appreciation for her music on stage, and the American Foundation for AIDS Research Award of Distinction in 1995 are just 2 of the many tips of the hat Dionne received from gay fans throughout her years. She goes on to say, I've been involved with AIDS issues since the early 80s. As the U.S. Ambassador for Health during the Reagan administration, I continue to fight. I still work on raising funds and awareness, but I don't think of myself as a pioneer, just someone who cares enough. Elio ends with, perhaps now Warwick will continue her crusade to ease the pain of AIDS patients by supporting medical marijuana. A few days after this interview, Florida police found 11 suspected marijuana cigarettes in her lipstick case. A true diva, girl. Dionne Warwick on Why Remixes Suck. Remixes from Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, or any jazz, that is something that I do not appreciate. There are certain things that are sacred. Having a duet with Whitney Houston, singing with Whitney is a very probable situation. We do talk with each other every other day. She has family, so it's just about getting our schedules straightened out. Whether the gown makes or breaks a diva, no. That's been said so many times that my suitcase has been lost and I've gone on stage with a t-shirt and jeans. Clothing don't sing. Ad page. Another ad page. Next we have an ad for Pride Ottawa. Second page is a Fashion Cares feature on one of the singers that was featured at that year's Fashion Cares, Circus, and this is by Christopher Michael. Recent Juno Award winner David Usher is one of the first talents to confirm he would appear at the 16th annual Fashion Cares. I don't wear lipstick, I wear nail polish. Christopher Michael starts with, from Lil' Kim to RuPaul, Katie Lang to Geri Halliwell, Fashion Cares has a long tradition of luring celebrity moths to its flame. There was even talk of Cher attending this year. Now in its 16th year, Canada's best-known fashion charity has raised over $5 million for the AIDS Committee of Toronto. Huge corporate sponsors have supported the AIDS fundraiser, including MAC, the Bay, and now even Bank of Montreal. With all the hoopla, a tremendous amount of pressure is on this year's performers to be the best yet. Don't really know that much about what I'm actually going to be doing, says remarkably relaxed, laid-back David Usher. All I know is that I'm playing. I think it's a good cause. Everyone plays a song, I think. Maybe I'm the only one playing. Who knows? The recent Juno Award winner for Best Pop Rock Album and recipient of 5 Much Music Video Award nominations says he's happy to play the fashion extravaganza. There's that word again, extravaganza. On June 1st because AIDS has deeply affected his generation. I'm old enough that I was in high school when AIDS wasn't as big an issue, he says in his charismatic, earnest manner. But it sort of came through my growing up, and it's been something that's been specific to my generation. It's had an impact on me just from knowing people and being in the scene. The frontman of the Vancouver rock band Moist, currently on hiatus, though not defunct, Usher earned a reputation for his distinctive, emotive singing style, his charitable contributions, and his exotic good looks. Yeah, so Christopher goes on to talk about why fashion is important to him and how AIDS has affected him and his generation. Next we have ad page, TD Bank is in there, another bank, Cell Block Zippers, Amsterdam Blonde. So this is the 3rd issue we've done, and this is my first feature article as well as my regular column. We're also, of course, on Fashion Cares. The official Fashion Cares after party is now entering its 4th year. It has hot, shirtless gay men and people I would never expect to see. By Roland Chambers, in 1987, when Canada's premier AIDS fundraiser, Fashion Cares began a conscious and fundraising effort for AIDS awareness. The glittered event was embraced by various local party promoters hosting unofficial after parties. It was a time when warehouse parties, which would morph into the circuit scene, dominated the Toronto party landscape. 12 years after the birth of Fashion Cares, the first official Fashion Cares after party was thrown. The after party has been growing annually and now seems to be a separate and much more gay-oriented entity from Fashion Cares itself. The after party is marketed separately by offering a more affordable $40 ticket, considerably less than the $350 gala ticket, or the $100 general admission standing room ticket for the actual fashion show. David Dean, the talent booker for Fashion Cares and one of Toronto's top party promoters, says, since we sell the separate ticket, a lot of the circuit party people come just for the party. Then there are a lot of the general admission people who come to see the big show at Fashion Cares and then go to the after party. It's kind of fun because there are a few suits mixed into the crowd. I think the suits really love the party. They think, oh my god, look at all the shirtless men. Ramel, one of Toronto's glamorous female illusionists and a fixture on the runway of Fashion Cares for almost 10 years now, says the after parties were always a mixed crowd, attended by people I would never expect to see, or people that I would never expect to stay so long. I've seen rich, older benefactors dancing it up and having a great time. Entertaining the shirtless men and adding a bit of circus to this year's after party will be performances by Circuit Mom of New York and local Toronto talent. To further lure the party boys and bring a circuit sense to the after party will be world-renowned producer and DJ Abel, who headlined the after party 2 years ago. It's a bit of a challenge to play for a mixed crowd, but I love it, says Abel. What I love about Fashion Cares is a mix of different people. I love that Fashion Cares stands for how everybody that is involved with the event really gets behind it and supports it. The energy that is created because of this is amazing. Murray Thunberg, who worked for Fashion Cares for 5 years as a production coordinator and casting director and is currently the founder of the Toronto booking agency Prova Group, says, you have to remember that there wasn't this marriage between the fashion industry and the gay community, even though the fashion industry was mostly gay. It's just been in the last couple years that you've gotten this circuity feel to the after party. It has afforded a lot of younger people who can't afford the gala tickets, or for that matter, the standing room only tickets, to enjoy the environment and spirit that is Fashion Cares. Another page of ads, ad for Buddies, Epic Fitness, no longer there, Pride Run, another page of ads, Polar Ice, Unified Weekend. Next we come to my double page deep dish column. With the mercury rising and ready to spurt, the club's restos are spit shining themselves in anticipation of a busy summer. The barn has been undergoing renovations since last October. For those afraid to look directly at this popular bar in sunlight, the outside is painted bright baby boy blue and bright baby girl pink, with a bit of bright baby pea yellow used as accents. Though it may seem like a warped version of the Candy Cottage from Hansel and Gretel, beware Little Red Riding Hood, the inside, housing more than just 3 bears, now looks like a shiny Ponderosa steakhouse. Owner Yanko Naglet, who is going to court on May 24th to fight nudity charges as a result of their naked men's night from last year, says the patios will reopen any day now. A liquor license for these areas is on the way and plans are in the works for live shower shows. Thursdays is still the best night there. Contrary to some, it has been going strong since ex-barn DJ Caree Activate built it up 2 years ago. Oh, and by the way, I love Yanko, the owner of the barn. He was one of the first people that took out ads in my zine, Yummy, back in the day, and I loved him for that. Had a really good spirit. Sadly, many years later, Yanko would be murdered by his partner. Tragic ordeal for everyone and for the entire community. Up the block, FAB is gearing up for their patio season with a cheaper food and drink menu. It's a nice getaway from the drama of the Church Street ghetto. Slipping succulent morsels into your mouth while watching prime rib going in and out of Epic Fitness, located directly upstairs, is a fine way to dine. Le Petit Levant on Church Street has mercifully done something about their pitiful patio by having it professionally restoned. This patio has seen a slew of restaurants grace and disgrace it, so respect should be given to them for spending some cash to improve the visuals of the village. Attention, the barn. The wet party at the Opera House may have scared off some who didn't wish to get their Prada soaked at the indoor squirt gun party, but for those who were there, they nautically enjoyed, amongst other things, the spa access hot tub. DJ Bill Burnett, however, spun the dry set I've heard since the Poseidon adventure, and contrary to the images used on all of the release party flyers, people of color actually do attend these parties. Alas, this was the last release bash. The 12th annual Inside Out Film Festival is in full swing, despite starting on the same night as George Lucas's never-ending story. I guess they released one of the Star Wars episodes then, 2002, gotta look that up. The opening night gala was packed. In attendance were Enza Supermodel, who plans to run for city councilor, New York City comic Greg Wallock, and former FAB columnist Jeremy Parks, looking even twinkier in person. The gala screening, Gaudy Afternoon, was a good film to pick for the opening, having a bit of everything. Lesbians, bisexuals, transsexuals, straights, foreigners, smokers, drinkers, rehabilitators, earthy and materialistic people, children, midgets, subtitles, and one of the best lines I've heard all week. Isn't it wonderful? Even the children smoke over here. DJ Sean Riker got them hungry, DJ Paulo fed them Tribal Jane, Primal Beats, and Primo vocals, and Cesar upstairs dished out seconds to the beat-hungry costume crowd for Provo's Alexander the Great party. The orgy of visuals included chained go-go men and fruit-covered slaves, a voyeuristic bath scene, and an uplifting performance by the barefoot Kim English. Bravo, Prova, but the mafia-esque management that charges $6 for water could have been done away with. And then we have the pictures. We have Best in Show, Charles trains Kevin at Fetish at 5, DJ Denise Benson, we love Denise Benson, Bob Wallace at Inside Out, Joey and Pedram, I love Pedram, showing off their fruit baskets at Alexander the Great, Christian at Alexander the Great Bash, DJ Paulo, nice spot. We have Spread Cheeky Michael at Fly, Ho Ho Hut, John at Fly, oh, I love John. $50 more if you want the dolphin. Okay. Absolute Blue at It's a Boy's Life. Some decorations there. Stephen at Inside Out Party. Inside Out Kathleen and Neil. Beware of Small Dogs. Enza and her crazy shenanigans. That's Shanann Govani that Enza Anderson is kissing. And now film scribe Ingrid Mendoza. So that's one drink per film review, eh? And Please Rise. Kim English sings the circuit anthem. Next, we have an ad for Hamilton Pride. Another ad page, Gay Games is in there. Rainbow High Vacations. That company is no longer there. It existed above what is now Boutique. And above Boutique right now, I believe, is Tanning Salon. Another ad page, Statler's is opening 2002. And as we know, Statler's is open, closed, open, closed, open. And sadly, it is closed once again. But in place of Statler's right now is a new, what will hopefully be an amazing spot, and it's called The Well. So go check it out when lockdown is over, when restrictions are over, when we can actually go out. Who the hell knows? The remix called by Elio Yanacci, Hoge Chic for Gerald Eaton. Elio starts with May is the month Queens. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, is booking some recording time behind Whitney Houston with famed producers The Neptunes, who have worked with everyone from Destiny's Child to Sade. Etta James, the Queen of Blues, has been added to the second Queer as Folk compilation disc with a pretty respectable remix of her classic Miss You. Sure beats the hell out of the overplayed, overhyped Deborah Cox remix of Absolutely Not they threw on. Absolutely Not. He goes on to talk about The Roots, Nona Hendrix, Anita Baker, Mary J. Blige, Grace Jones, Timo Maas, Kittens and Three Glitz CD by DJ Felix the Housecat. Oh, I love DJ Felix the Housecat. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark is on here. Khalees, Dance Star USA, American Dance Awards, Gerald Eaton, of course. Toronto's own Sultan of Soul, Gerald Eaton, former frontman of the Philosopher Kings, is pulling a full-on Garth Brooks and changing his name to Jarvis Church, How Hooker Gay, for his newest brew entitled Shake It Off. Reminding me of a certain singer now. And there's some hot tracks there. My favorite is Alicia Keys, A Woman's Worth. I love that when it came out. Diva du jour is Jill Scott. Why Jill Scott? Jill just received the Ultimate Sister Award from the Sister Celebration Agreement in Pennsylvania. Work. What's new? MJ Cole's severe remix of her Getting in the Way, the illegal mix of He Loves Me and Gimme, is packing sweet heat and meat on our dance floors. What is she about? She is representing love and Philadelphia. Fiercest moment. She pulled the weave off some jealous shady bitch who tried to break up Jill and her man and threw it on the street in the video to Getting in the Way. Next page, an ad for Pride Vision. At that time, Pride Vision was promoting such shows as Bump, Shout, Urban Fitness, Locker Room, Undercover, So Gay TV, Metrosexuality, Gimme, 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 So Graham Norton, XXX Extreme Heat. Alex Rolson's Twink column. You might be a twink if is a tongue-in-cheek listing of things that make you a twink. It's Friday night, 8:27 p.m., and you're standing on the steps at Church and Wellesley having a latte, and that's where you plan on staying for the rest of the night. Those who don't know, the steps were in front of Second Cup, which Second Cup was in the location where Just Thai restaurant is now, and they had much better steps there, and that's where people hung out all the time. You can relay in great detail the plot lines and sexual exploits of every character on Queer as Folk, both British and American versions. You religiously spend every Friday night firmly planted in front of much music, dressed exclusively in the Chateau Club slut gear in hopes of skating your way onto Electric Circus. Electric Circus! You've done so much K that you pet your cat the next day and she passes out. It's Thursday evening, 7:37 p.m., and you're kneeling in the bathroom at a Second Cup at Church and Wellesley, purging before a big date. It's your life goal to become an international DJ whore. You defend Madonna, including her movie career, to death, even when presented with a bloody knife that is body of evidence. You slept with Rufus Wainwright, just so you could tell people you slept with Rufus Wainwright. You have no clue who Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, Tallulah Bankhead, or Eartha Kitt are, and can't understand why your driving teacher thinks they're so hilarious. You know the difference between house, UK Hard House, Chicago Hard House, Tribal House, Progressive House, Deep House, Plenty House, Booty House, Dark House, Tech House, and Circuit House. You don't have the time of day for anyone who doesn't. It's Wednesday, 5:33 p.m., and you're sitting on the steps at Church and Wellesley in a K-hole, and you're not the only one. I think we did a lot of K back then. The Troll column by Paul Bellini. Steeltown Steam. This is an article about him going to Hamilton to visit the bathhouses. When gay boys in Hamilton reach blinking age, they immediately hop on the bus to Toronto. So when I learned that there was not one, but two bathhouses operating in Ville, Sheila Copps was a member of Parliament back then, my first question was, who goes there? My first towel stop was Carol's Steam Baths. This establishment, opened since 1932, has a steam room, shower stalls, a massage table, and about a dozen rooms, but it's really more of a house with a sign out front. The owner's claim to fame is giving George Bush Sr. a massage. In December 1993, Bush Sr., who was in town for a hospital fundraiser, was in his room at the Sheraton when back pain struck. Whenever a big fat celebrity staying at the hotel requests a back rub, they page Caree. The incident made the front page of the Hamilton Spectator, a copy of which hangs proudly on the wall of Caree's. Other famous clients include Bob Hope and Kenny Rogers, and I found it interesting that most of the naked men wandering around the halls of Caree's place looked a lot like Bob Hope, Kenny Rogers, and George Bush Sr. My next bathhouse stop was the Warehouse Spa, which opened just recently. There's an upper floor with a lounge, a tanning bed, the obligatory porn room, and a small workout room with equipment so new that the treadmills weren't even plugged in yet. So he ends with, there are three things that any big city requires in order to be considered a thriving metropolis. Skyscrapers over 60 floors, a population over 1 million, and a few gay sex establishments. 1 out of 3 ain't bad, Steeltown. More ads here. Full page ad for EmperorMSex.com. Todd Klink's trade column, Leon and his Jewish grandpa. This is a hilarious article, I love this one. Leon with a Jewish grandpa won't stop harassing Toronto area escorts. A few months back, he calls me. He goes on and on about how he wants to be tied up, whipped, and forced to serve me. He says he's 23, which I believe from the sound of his voice. It is so obvious that this is a fake call, that he's just sitting there whacking off to the conversation, but I don't hang up for a while. I'm curious. His paranoid fast pitch speaking aside, he might be doable, or at least exploitable, for a video. As my friend and adult video connoisseur Mandy says, how ugly could he be at 23? Look, Leon, just call me when you're ready to make an appointment. I go to hang up. He panics. Wait. There's another thing. And don't think I'm weird or anything, but I live with my grandpa. He might be home when you come see me. I want to know if you could be rude to him. He describes how his grandpa is Jewish, owned a bookstore that went bankrupt, and now he wants me to call him anti-Semitic names and to push him against the wall. Guy, I'm not beating up your grandfather. So he goes on to finally meeting this guy. He agreed on $300. He went to meet him, and the guy was not good looking at all. And so this article was basically about how Toronto area hustlers and sex workers should stay clear of Leon and his Jewish grandpa. Next page, the full page ad for the Unified Party Weekend. Huge party, we'll get into that in later issues, put on by the Unified Group. Ad for Circus, Fashion Cares. James Murray playing the safe sex column Lube Job. In 1991, the Peugeot Group in Germany launched Eros, a silicone-based lubricant considered by many to be the gold standard for lubes. Similarly, Wet Platinum uses silicone-based materials to create a long-lasting, slippery experience. Silicone-based lubes are more expensive, but last up to 4 times longer than the equivalent volume of water-based or oil-based lubes. That's because silicone-based lubes use a dimethione-based formula, a silicate, whose molecules are larger than the pores of your skin or your tissues. So silicone-based lubes are not absorbed into the skin, meaning that a little dab will go a long way. Also, silicone-based lubes do not wash off underwater, which creates new kinds of possibilities in the shower or hot tub or lake. Silicone-based tips. Silicone lubes actually warm up during sex, which can feel good. The comics The Chelsea Boys by Hansen and Neuwirth. So this was an interesting one. So one of the main characters, Caree, who always reminded me of a mix of a few Toronto drag queens like Jackie Baker, comes home with his latest trick, and the latest trick actually turns out to be the long-lost brother of his other gay roommate. So they're both two gay brothers. He Ain't Heavy, another page of ads from Pre-App, The Barn, Fish Things. This is our page where we give free products that were sent to us to local gay celebs. Cheap Queers Test Free Booze. The hardworking homosexuals are singing the working man's blues as they toll away on their 7th annual Cookie Cabaret Cheap Queers 2002. We basically sit around, eat french fries, gossip, and do 5 minutes of work, says a hardworking homosexual founder, Keith Cole, of the group's meetings. So they talk about this new drink, Bacardi Silver. Mr. Cole appreciated the drink's hint of sweet taste, especially after a bad experience with rival Smirnoff Ice. The sugary cooler had Cole in convulsions as he reached for the insulin. While Cole and his company were delighted with the cooler's cachet, and Bacardi's signature bat logo seemed appropriate to match for their new summer venue at the Goth Club, Vatican, they balked at the idea of shelling out $6 at Woody's to go Bacardi by night. I drink it for free, Mr. Cole said, but that pretty much goes for anything. Next one was a skin cream. From chicken hawk to chicken, Decluos, Le Sun Skincare for men, claims it effectively targets, tracks down, and combats signs of aging. But is it really a solution for wrinkles, or just a high-end bottle of lube? FAB headed to the spa on Maitland to see if bathhouse habitué George Hislop, one of Toronto's oldest gay activists, could be turned back into chicken. Mr. Hislop is perched in the corner of a lounge eating from a jar of nuts with an untouched cocktail on the side of his table. He tightens his bath towel and leans back in his chair. You only want me to do this because I'm the oldest living faggot in the city, he says, applying the cream to his nose with a cover-up popper burn. So George goes on to test this cream, and they call him the next day. We decide to give Mr. Hislop a call in the morning to see if the wrinkle cream worked. It's too soon to tell, I think. I need major reconstruction to fix a face as old as mine. Then he adds, I think you have to believe that these things work. I just don't believe in them. I use Vaseline intensive care to prevent my skin from drying out, but I suppose it'd be useful if you have a serious skin problem. Now it's by James Shirani. The Bacardi wine was by Ryan Porter. And for Spa Access, for listings page of what's happening in the city, another page of community networking, the FAB City Map, FAB businesses, who to support, who to get your stuff from. Stefan Gregor's fat boy was Earl. This single 25-year-old came to Toronto from St. Lucia 2 years ago. He likes dancing at System Sound Bar on Fridays, and It's a Boy's Life on Sunday. He likes boys who are honest and who have charisma. His music of choice is house and techno. His email is earlpoe@yahoo.com. So you want to message Earl Poe now? Just go right ahead. See if he'll answer. This was Earl then. This is Earl now. More classifieds. Another wonderful ad from Zelda's. The last page is an ad for Altoid Shrinkage Cure. I hope you enjoyed episode 3 of Good Fat Friday. See you back here next Friday. I'm Roland Chambers. Make sure you have yourself a Good Fat Friday.